Yes, Miss Amal, we are live.
So, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us from around the world. I hope you are and your families are doing well. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to this special Women Ascension session held in alignment with the International Day of Education 2026. And before we begin, I wanted to extend my gratitude to everyone who has worked behind the scene to make this gathering possible. To Dr. Mahin, to Ms. Tamina, to Ms. Kanvi, to the department heads, to our fellows, and to every member of this global movement, your dedication, both visible and invisible, it's deeply associated. So allow me to introduce myself. I'm Amal Barkat, Head of Department of Learning and Understanding AI and STEAM at Women Ascension and founder of Plan AB Global Holding. And it's my honor to serve as the moderator for this session discussion. So today we are not here to celebrate a date on the calendar. The world today is changing at a pace we have never witnessed before. Technology is reshaping how we learn, how we communicate, how we work, and how we imagine possibility. We are here to comfort the truth. And education will not evolve unless youth become co architects of its future. As we gather under the theme, The Power of Youth in Co Creation Education, we are stepping into a conversation that the world has delayed for far long. Youth are not a demographic to be counted, they are a force to be recognized, a strategic force, a creative force, a transformative force. And if we, as educators, leaders, and institutions, do not redesign our system with them, not merely for them, then we are designing for a world that no longer exists. Before we continue, let me acknowledge the institution whose commitment has gathered us today. Women Ascension, founded by Dr. Mahin Amjad, is a global movement present in more than 130 countries, a platform dedicated to building competence, confidence, and sustainable leadership, a space where women and allies develop skills, practice leadership, and build opportunity that offers entire community. Today's session is one expression of that mission. Before also we close this segment, I would like to take a moment to recognize an important step forward for our community. We are truly happy and excited to begin fellowship batch 1 2026 at Women Session. It is a strong and promising cohort, and from this platform, I warmly welcome all our fellows who are starting the journey with us. You are not just joining a program, you are stepping into a space of responsibility, contribution, and real commitment impact. I would also like to expand my sincere wishes of success to all my colleagues, the heads of department, and the assistant heads across the 10 Women Ascension departments. Each one of you plays a vital leadership role in making this ecosystem alive and effective. So, what's making this fellowship especially powerful is that followers are embedded across 10 active Women's Ascension departments, including Department of Community Outreach, Department of Climate Action and Sustainability, Department of Heritage and Cultural Preservation, Department of Human Resources, Department of Peace of Justice, Department of Skills Development, Department of Social Media and Digital Advocacy, Department of Research and Policy Development, Department of Publishing and Media, and Department of Learning and Understanding AI and STEAM. This means fellows are not observers. They are integrate contributor inside the real operation track. And for those who could not join this batch, do not miss the opportunity to be part of batch 2. Stay connected and follow our official pages and announcement on LinkedIn, Facebook, and our WhatsApp community for upcoming calls and updates. We look forward to welcoming more change maker very soon. And now, before we move to our speakers, I would love for you to share this in chat. Where are you joining us from today? We would be honored to recognize the global community that has gathered for this important conversation. So please drop in the chat where are you comes from. So today we are hosting 5 speakers. Hi, welcome from Spain, from India. Wow, this is amazing from all around the world. From Malaysia, hi, welcome. From Karachi, hi, from Pakistan. Okay, welcome all from Afghanistan, for all the Cameroon and all the countries that are here. Is our honor that we connected all together in this platform. So today we are hosting 5 speakers, each of whom will explore one essential dimension of youth-centered education. So we will talk about practical measures for co-creation, SDGs and education, why youth matters in education, barriers faced by youth, and finally, youth technology and modern learning. Each speaker will have 10 minutes, and together, this perspective will create a complete narrative from understanding the contents to identifying solutions to imagine the future we want to build with youth everywhere. This session will run for 60 minutes, and every part of it's designed to inform, inspire, and empower. With great pleasure, let us move to our first speaker, who will open our sessions with a fundamental question. Why do youth matter in education today? And how does the world change when young people become partners and shape their own learning? So it's my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, the always inspiring and truly well-known Miss Andy Lucchesi, who will be speaking on the topic practical measure for co-creation. Andy is a leading voice at the intersection of education and AI. She's the co-founder of Skill Future and collaborator with AAEO at the University of Oxford and an active contributor to AI for Africa. Her work continues to shape how educators and learners engage with AI in meaningful, ethical, and transformative way. So we are truly fortunate to have you with us again, Andy. So the platform is yours.
Thank you very much for the space and for the introduction. If you don't mind sharing the presentation, please. Thank you,
Of
everybody, for
course.
being here today. It's a very special moment for Women's Ascension, and also for me that I have been collaborating with them for a while now. So I'm excited to be here today. Well, thank you. Here is our presentation. So today I will focus on from passive learners to active makers, co-creating education in the AI era. Next, please. So, since I'm focusing on practical measures of co creation, what educators, institutions, and communities can actually do to involve youth in education planning and decision making? This is the approach that I would like us to have today here. So, let's start with a simple idea. Co creation is not a nice activity anymore. In the AI era, it becomes a safety feature. Because if we design AI policies, classroom rules, and learning models without students, we create a mismatch. Adults design one reality and students live another. Probably if we have educators and policymakers, parents in the room, we definitely know what I'm talking about. So when there is a gap between policy and lived experience, students don't become non compliant, they become disconnected. And disconnected systems fail, especially when AI is moving fast. So the question is, what do we build that makes youth voice durable and not symbolic? Next, please. So the reality gap is true. We used to say that our kids, our students are digital natives, but that phrase, to my opinion, is nowadays outdated. These are students growing up in a reality where AI nowadays is embedded in search, in media, in recommendations, in content creation, in communication. And here's an uncomfortable part of it. Schools often still speak to them as if the world is mostly analog, with digital as an add-on. It doesn't matter if our school have more or less access to it. The reality that our kids and our young adults are living is this. So we teach them about the future while they are already living in it. So this creates what I call a reality gap. We create rules that don't match the tools students actually use. We teach skills that don't necessarily match what modern work and modern society demands. And we introduce AI by training tools without building governance and shared norms. So, when I talk about involving youth, I am not talking about a student's opinion. I am talking about design intelligence. Students can tell us where reality doesn't match our assumptions. Now, I'll show you how we can make students' voice structural using the same logic we use for responsible AI implementation, which, by the way, it's what, for example, we at Skill in Future are implementing when we collaborate with educational institutions. Next, please. Thank you. So, here's a line that it keeps coming to me back from Davos during the World Economic Forum that happened this year, and it was from Julie Sweets, CEO of Accenture. And I'm going to quote: "Human in the lead, not human in the loop." Let's just hear that again. Human in the lead, not human in the loop. Her point for me was subtle but incredibly powerful. When we talk about humans in the lead, it means that humans shouldn't be added at the end to supervise what systems already decided. Humans should lead the design from the beginning. So now let's translate that into education, especially in the AI era. If we keep education mostly passive and performative, students learn to play school. They submit their homework, they comply, they optimize for grades, they perform understanding. And in AI world, that honestly gets worse because performance becomes easier to fake. So, the shift we need is students becoming active makers, not just consumers of content, not just recipients of policy or information. Makers. We have to make them into makers. So that's why I use the phrase students in the design. And I want to be very clear: students in the design is not a motivational slogan. It's a learning model and a governance model. This idea has a strong foundation in learning theory. For example, if we go to Papert, which is a person that has designed a method around constructivism, as learning, it happens that when we learners make things, we care about them. And when learning is tied with building and creating and iterating, we are not just receiving information, we are becoming part of it. So, if AI is changing how knowledge is accessed, then value shifts toward what students can care, justify, improve, and stand behind. So we need to make them co-creators, co-artifacts of their own realities. All right, next, please. Thank you. So, if we agree with human in the lead, then in schools we need students in the design and we need structures that make that real. But how is it that we're going to make that actually happen? So, I'm going to give you nine measures just as bullet points here. So you can collect this as ideas, but not as random ideas. I want you to sit as them as sort of like a blueprint, as a roadmap. So let's think about these first 3 points as Act One: strategy, readiness, vision, and governance. First, when we're talking about strategy, what I feel that can happen in reality in 30 or 90 days is to create a youth AI advisory council, which means, small groups, rotating seats, just asking about their opinion. When I'm talking about student AI charter is creating in plain English or your native languages what is allowed, what is not allowed, and more importantly, why. When we include privacy boundaries, fairness, academic integrity is bound to happen naturally. And then, of course, we talk about teacher responsibility and students' responsibility. And of course, when I talk about listening sessions and design requirements, this is more about asking students, where is the school really standing on? What is their reality and what does it mean? Next, please. There is another part. There is the implementation part, which I would like to call Act Two, where we talk about pilots, evaluation, and scaling. In this part, it's about co-designing sprints, which is basically what defines success and how success looks like for the institution and the students. When we're talking about student audit roles, we're talking about can they bias or spot, sorry, can they spot bias? And how valuable this becomes in their everyday learning as an automatic thing. And also, finally, students define success metrics. Um, it is very important that when we're talking about shifting systems, unfortunately, we are in a system where grades matter the most. Well, in this case, I would define like how is it that we are relearning and we are rethinking in the age of AI, especially working on our critical and analytical thinking. Next, please. And finally, we're talking about integration, sustainability, culture, and community, what I would like to call Act Three, making co-creation normal, part of our system. So here, when I'm talking about co-creating AI literacy pathways, I'm talking about students helping define what AI ready means to them in their reality, meeting them where they are. When I talk about the next point, which is youth impact, I'm talking about what is it that they trust and what is it that they don't trust and why. And then, of course, the community layer, which is incredibly important to also, when we talk about the students and youth, to put the family in that loop as well. Because if we include local partners and, of course, their families, those realities are going to be reinforced. Next, please. This way, co creation is durable when it has structure, rhythm, outputs, and, of course, accountability. So, why all this matters for the future of work? Let's connect with that in a way that it's grounded and real. Students are entering in a labor market shaped by AI. This was stated in the World Forum Economic for 2025, as well as in their report. And it was again brought back even more seriously this year, January 2026. So, where we have to think that the level entry of work is changing and is changing fast, not to mention our own realities, not in youth anymore for those that are not that young anymore, but it is affecting all of us. So, while adults, well, us, we are debating about, global level and students' futures. What will matter to them? So we have to think about what is relevant to education nowadays, because students help shape that, and we need to support them. And what makes education credible? Because students see those decisions evolve, they see how this affects their reality, and it is dissonant in many contexts. And there's, of course, a third outcome, which is human judgment or humans agency. So, bottom line, when students help design boundaries around artificial intelligence, meaning privacy, fairness, and integrity, their practice shows, and it shows in better communication, better critical thinking, and of course, ethical reasoning. Next, please. And finally, to close the presentation. Ooh, I don't know why this last one doesn't show. Thank you very much. Okay, so as final reflections, which it's just humble approach to what I believe you guys can collaborate even further is there are three commitments any school should adopt and should adopt immediately. We will not scale artificial intelligence without student-defined success indicators because if students don't experience benefit, the system is failing. If they don't know where is it that they're going, there will not be trust and therefore misuse. The second one is we will publish what's changed because it is important to show development, and this turns into transparency, and transparency turns into better participation coming from a place of care. And last but not least, we will treat youth participation as governance, not as a workshop. Councils, charters, pilot metrics, recurring cycles. And that's the heart of in my opinion, practical co-creation, shared decisions, shared accountability, and durable steps. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Andy, for your expert contribution. Really, your perspective brings this session deep to today's conversation. Thank you very much, Andy. And what I wanted to say also that co-creation is not anymore a methodology; it's a mindset, and it's begin the moment we stop designing for learners and start designing with them. That's what I wanted to say. I think there is no question. Yeah, for that. So thank you again, Andy. We truly, truly appreciate your contribution, and we hope to see you in our future Women Ascension events. Take care and take care. Now let me move to our next topic. It's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, the incredible Miss Afreen Khan, who will be speaking on the theme SDG and education. Afreen is an accomplished educator and organizational development consultant, currently serving as a senior program manager at Amal Academy, where she mentors hundreds of youth each year. So her experience in curriculum innovation, teacher training, and sustainability education positioned her perfectly to address the intersection between education and the SDGs. We are truly fortunate to have a speaker with such a rich and meaningful background in youth empowerment and education transformation. So, Afrin, the platform is yours.
Thank you so much, Amal, for the warm welcome, and good afternoon and good evening to everyone from each part of the world that you have joined us. It is indeed a pleasure to be part of this panel and to reflect on the intersection of education and sustainable development goals. Um, an intersection that is not only global in scope, but deeply local in impact. I'll quickly share my screen. All right. Amal, is my screen visible?
Yeah, yeah, my dear.
All right. Here. All right. So, moving forward, the SDGs give us a shared vision for the future. Definitely, and indeed, it makes a lot of impact for each one of us when we are talking about it holistically. The reason why we are focusing towards sustainability and how it is correlated, we are going to be talking about for additional few minutes ahead. But the real question we must ask is who will live with the consequences if we succeed? And who will bear the cost if we fail? The answer is our youth. Too often, I would say SDGs are discussed mostly as like policy tables, either in conferences and in reports. But unless these goals are translated into learning experiences for young people, they will remain as aspirations rather than actions. This is where education in particular is going to be focused, and particularly youth-led education becomes very critical. When young people are meaningfully engaged through education, they don't just learn about sustainability. They are engaged much more beyond that through education. They don't just learn about it; they begin to live it. They lead it, and they also envision and it makes them more empowered. Now, when we talk about how we are focusing today in this conference is that how youth-led education directly connects on the SDGs and why education is the foundation for sustainable social and economic development. Moving on, to understand what is youth-led education. We primarily focus on youth-led education means creating spaces where young people they have a voice, they have choice, and they take ownership of their own learning. Having said that, it goes beyond textbooks and exams as well. In youth led models, learners identify problems in their communities, ask critical questions, and they need to collaborate and they design meaningful and impactful solutions at the same time. The role of educators here is like a pivot, it's like an immense role that it plays because it allows that shift from instructors to facilitators and mentors at the same time. From my experience mentoring students from diverse range of uh, backgrounds and working with school communities, I have seen that when young people are trusted with responsibility, they rise with confidence, they rise with creativity and with purpose as well. Now, it brings me to our next point that we are going to be focusing on is about quality education, why it matters, and how SDG 4 is the anchor of the entire SDG framework. It is not only about access to schooling or about, giving quality education and relevance to learning. When we talk about youth led education, it directly strengthens, it bridges SDG 4 because it shifts the learners from memorizing content and to apply knowledge in real context. When students are encouraged to ask questions, to explore issues, and to take ownership of their own learning, the impact and the ripples of effect that it creates is magnanimous. I would, globally we see very strong examples. I would like to highlight an example from Finland. Um, Phenomenal, their phenomenon-based learning where it allows students in particular to study real-world examples. And when we talk about real world examples, they pick up climate change or inequality or across subjects or gender based violences that are prevailing in every society. Now, this builds critical thinking, collaboration, and system thinking at right from the grassroots level. And it enables to empower those essential skills for sustainable development. Another added example that I would like to highlight as I was studying about it in Kenya, community linked education initiatives engage youth in addressing local issues. And when we talk about addressing local issues, I think it's monumental not to ignore the facts that, such as water access and basic needs of the community, sanitation, hygiene. Students learn science, civic responsibility, and problem solving simultaneously hand in hand. So, closer to our region, youth fellowships and mentoring programs across South Asia, they enable students to design, lead community projects, and connect academic learning directly with social impact. And this is what we need. These examples, they show that quality education is not about content alone. It is about relevance, it is about agency and purpose. Moving ahead, I would like to highlight the fact that how education it connects multiple and it taps multiple SDGs at the same time. Education acts as a multiplier. Progress in education, it allows to accelerate progress across many, many SDGs at the same time. Looking at the first SDG here, which is SDG number one, which is no poverty. Now, education improves employability, it, it improves financial literacy, it educates the masses, and access to livelihoods as well. Um, One of the documentary lately, it shared about that how in Bangladesh, vocational education combined with entrepreneurship training and that has helped young people from informal labor into sustainable income generating work. Now that's amazing if we look at it, that what kind of a trickle down effect it is creating and tapping the local people in the markets. Moving on towards SDG 3, good health and well-being. Now, in particular, education plays a preventive role. Um, School-based health education programs, they have holistically like improved awareness about malnutrition. If I have to name a particular place in Rwanda, malnutrition and awareness about nutrition, hygiene, mental well-being, it is like significantly reducing preventable health risk within the community and on a marginalized level as well. Moving towards SDG 5, which is gender equality, global girls and education initiatives consistently show that education girls lead to delayed early marriages, especially in regions where their voices are suppressed. Improved family health, higher school retention, and increase household income at the same time. And to summarize, by climate action, which is SDG 13, I think it is so closely knitted together that education is creating that awareness, which is leading towards behavior change. In Germany, for a matter of fact, student led climate education and advocacy movements have influenced community practices and national conversations around sustainability. So, in simple terms, education is the engine and the SDGs are the destination. And we need to pivot them, we need to connect them through social development within the education system. Now, this point is very integral as when we talk about policies, we talk about how foundational role in social development it plays because it is, shaping values at the same time. It is creating identities, it is creating relationships, and so on and so forth. But it is also nurturing empathy, which is very gravely needed for our students, for our for the youth to play, to have that humble heart to reflect onto the problems that the society possesses. It prepares young people to engage in dialogue rather than division. An essential requirement, I would say, for peaceful and inclusive societies. Because we talk a lot about inclusive environment, we talk about inclusive societies, but do we really have that trickle down effect? Uh, I can see that there are a lot of people who have joined us from India here today as well. So one example that I would like to quote from India is that there are youth-led community teaching programs which are, targeting and addressing literacy gaps while simultaneously building empathy. And I think that's a great movement, which is also promoting leadership qualities, civic responsibility among young volunteers. Now, through such models, education does not merely transmit knowledge, it builds socially conscious, engaged citizens. Moving ahead, I would like to connect the thought about how economic development is also closely relying not exactly through SDGs, but how SDGs are pivoting that monumental change through economic development via education. And that's what the awareness and that's what the change that we are talking about. Having said that, the skills, um, from an economic perspective, education is building that human capital and that resilience, which is also ingrained for the long term sustainability. Um, Youth led skills based education, it allows the learners for rapidly changing world of work by focusing on adaptability, collaboration, and innovation, because it's not just primarily focusing on academic credentials, it's allowing them to have that practical exposure across, I would say, across the global south region. Sustainability projects such as, like, low cost solar lamp initiatives in villages, in towns, they are enabling students to learn science. They are enabling them to learn economics. They are also enabling them to learn social responsibility while addressing real energy needs at the same time. Now, these examples, they show that education fuels not just the jobs, but it is also providing dignity, innovation, and sustainable economic growth at the same time. Now, my call towards youth and what the youth can really tap on in these times where there is so much of where there are like so many resources available, are we like tapping and utilizing them well? Well, that's a question I will leave um, you all and to the audience to think and ponder about. um, I would here specifically like to share some examples of youth-led initiatives in education that are practically in action. I have closely worked with students on sustainability initiatives, such as creating awareness about renewable energy and designing low-cost solar-powered lamps for underserved communities. Now, these projects cannot directly they directly connect to SDG 7 and SDG 13. In schools, in particular, climate campaigns encourage younger children as well, and it empowers youth to take those learnings and implement into designing solutions and innovations for their own community. Peer mentoring models empower students to teach and support one another at the same time, strengthening inclusion and leadership while addressing SDG 4 and SDG 10 as well. Now, these experiences show that when learning is meaningful, impact follows naturally. And this is what the impact looks like, because we don't see wonders happening fortnightly or just in one night. It comes with your first step. It comes with the first change that you take. Again, I would summarize and I would conclude by saying that, educate the youth and empower the future. To summarize, I think there is no conclusion to any of the speakers that will be talking today, because we are just sharing our thoughts. The future of the SDGs does not lie only in policy documents or global summits. It lies in classrooms, it lies in communities, and the hands of young people, the youth. So, if we genuinely want sustainable development, we must invest in education that listens to youth, trusts them, and allows them to lead with honesty and accountability. So, because when these young people are empowered through education, sustainable development stops being an ambition and it becomes a reality. So, that's all from my side. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Afrin, for this valuable insight and for grounding our session with such clarity and deep. I just wanted to add something that many of people think that SDGs are only as a checklist, and this is the problem. So SDGs were never meant to be checklists; they were meant to be a language, a shared language that you'd understand and certificately, because they live the consequences of our global choices every day. So thank you very much, Afreen, again for grounding us in this important perspective. And we truly, truly appreciate your contribution today. And we hope to see you again in the future Women Ascension events. So now let us move to the next topic. It's my pleasure to introduce Miss Tayyaba Zulfiqar. Tayyaba is an experienced English language lecturer and program manager who has worked with leading institutions including Ruhab Khan Institute. She has contributed to youth employed and SDG aligned social impact project, and she is also U.S. Department of State alumna and certified MOOC facilitator. We are fortunate to have you with us today and to benefit from your field experience with youth and education. She will be speaking on the topic why youth matter in education. A small reminder for our format, we have a focused 10-minute slot for each speaker. Tayyaba, the platform is yours.
Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, good morning, everyone. I hope all of you are doing well. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to be speaking on my favorite platform. I am Tayyaba Zulfiqar, a country representative for Women Ascension led by Maheen. She's a very good friend, and all of you are amazing people here. Thank you so much for being here. So, guys, we are going to be talking for the next 10 minutes about why education is important for youth. But first, I'm really curious to know that we have so many emojis. What is your favorite emoji? Please let me know in the chat. So that my favorite emoji is this because this reminds me of myself. I've written it in the chat. I feel like I'm a fairy princess and I'll always be, no matter how old I am. So just curious to know what is your favorite emoji. Please let me know in the chat in the next like 5 to 10 seconds. Great. We have a flex and then we have heart eyes. And then we have sunflower. Oh, wow. A lot of happy emojis, right? So flower. So I'm actually seeing a lot of happy emojis. This brings me to my topic that, emojis are something, I don't think so. People always use them with a pinch of salt. Nobody really gave any thought to it. But then there is one particular emoji, which is this, right? And our youth, one fine morning, decided that this emoji should be secluded because it is a very passive aggressive emoji. And I agreed. I couldn't unsee. So I stopped using this thumbs up emoji because it gives a very, I don't know, like tone deaf kind of response. So having said that, let's go to the fact that why is youth matters in education today. I hope you guys can see my screen. These are pretty basic slide. I'll let the talking be the main hero in this presentation. All right. So my name is Tayyaba Zulfiqar, and I'm a human who is striving for an educated world because education is what saved me, right? So, can any one of you let me know in the chat which age group does youth define? Because we always talk about youth, but what exactly is the age group of youth? Hanji. So while you guys write in the chat, let me tell you that youth is that period in the year of a human being in which you are most vulnerable to being groomed in any way possible, right? You can go right or you can go left. This is why whenever there is a movement or a change, mostly countries, they focus on derailing or doing a propaganda against youth so that, they can make sure that they are going towards left or right direction. Okay, so I think Kanvi, if this is how you pronounce your name, you're kind of right that 18 to 30 years, except that it's 18 to 24 years in most cases, right? So you can say university students are the youth of Pakistan, and the youth is the most here in the whole population of the world, youth is the most abundant. There are 1.8 million youth in this world, and they can easily help us in changing the world, which they are doing. So we are 24% of youth in the whole world, right? So, I mean, let that sink in. Just imagine we are 1/4 of the whole population of the world, which means that in for 1 out of 4 people on earth is in a stage where they're learning, they're making decisions, they're considering what is right and what is wrong, right? Most of you are youth, and you guys need to understand that education in youth helps define a whole generation. All right, so we are going to talk about youth in innovation. So if we go back before COVID or 10 years ago, there was a concept of 9 to 5 job, and people were extremely happy with the titles that they were given. However, youth decided that we are going to be working on different ideas, which I'm going to share with you guys in a while. That, I was going through some youth and their ideas, and I couldn't even believe that they have such amazing things that they're doing in the world. For example, I was teaching in one of the organizations in which one of my colleagues, young students, they came up with a Nikah Nama book. So Nikah is marriage bond that happens in Muslims. And they made this whole booklet about the education of this. Has never happened before, right? So if we talk about the current Gen Z, they are getting quite the lion's share of criticism these days, but they are shaping future. They are breaking stereotypes. They're talking about things that were never talked about before. And as adults, if we are above 30, it's our moral responsibility to give them such an environment in which they are able to strive instead of criticizing them, right? So let me show you a few examples of what youth is doing in Pakistan. So this is Acumen Fellowship of Pakistan. Specifically, if you are working on any idea, please apply for it. Look it up. It's really amazing. My lap just fell. All right, so let's see what youth is up to these days, specifically in Pakistani context. So we have Amna Babar. If you can see, she is leading the annual mass deworming of school-aged children at risk in Punjab. I mean, this is phenomenal. Have you ever heard of this before? Like, I've never heard of this idea. So this is what education does, that it gives us ideas to work on things that were never talked about before, right? Next is Hiba Fatma. She is a senior associate and she is working on consultancy. I mean, I could have never imagined working on such amazing things at such a young age, but then again, it's education and it's ideas, and then it's a platform. So she's working between intersection between digital and human development and public service delivery. And then I'll be taking another example, which is going to be probably Varda Noor. Oh my God, she's one of my favorite people on LinkedIn. She's a social entrepreneur. She started working at merely at the age of 18, and she is basically upskilling the people at her area. It's quite an area in which there are a lot of people who are poverty struck, and she's working for them. And in her early 20s, she has made sure to counsel over 8,000 students. So you might think that counseling is a very small word, but if I talk about, had I been counseled at my very young age, I would have probably been the dean of some university right now, right? However, because when I give an idea to some student, for example, one of my students of Ghulam Isa Khan Institute, I asked her to work on her LinkedIn, and she might be 2021, and her LinkedIn has more than 8,000 followers, right? So this is what counseling does, right? If you sit with me, and please do connect with me on LinkedIn, and if you want counseling from me, I'll do that. And you will see amazing things happening in your brain when someone is telling you what to do. You will get a blueprint of how things work. So this is how it goes, right? All right. So youth in innovation is working on things we have never imagined. I will give you an example of one of my favorite CEOs, Aisha Amin. You can look her up on LinkedIn. So she is working on period education, which is a huge taboo in a country, in our country. And she's talking about how to keep yourself clean, how to make sure that you're not getting any diseases, etc. And nobody could have imagined it 10 years ago that this is a topic that we are going to talk on ever. All right. So next is the future development of. I'm also checking the time because I have to finish in 10 minutes. All right. So the future development is that now I have worked with boomers. I have worked with different because I'm a millennial, so we have close connection with boomers and Gen Zs. And when I work with an organization run by Gen Zs or the youth of Pakistan, they focus a lot on your mental health. They focus, they're okay with the fact that we are taking a leave just because we don't want to work or just because we want to work from home. And they focus on the human element of a human. They work on the human index. And there is, you must have seen what happened in Bangladesh, that, when things were going south, the youth of Bangladesh decided that they did not want the prime minister anymore, and they selected the next prime minister. So I feel, in my humble opinion, that the future belongs to the youth, provided that they are properly guided. They are working on mental health education, breaking stereotypes, and making sure that this world is a happy place, not just for humans, but also for animals, for the environment around. And they have an amazing work ethic. They have amazing values. And I feel like we should make peace, because sometimes, we start comparing them with us. And we should just let them be and let them know that the world is their oyster and they're doing an amazing job. So this was all from my side. You guys can connect with me on LinkedIn. And if you want any kind of counseling, I'm definitely going to do that for you, in education or career or otherwise. So thank you so much for listening. Over to Amal Parkat.
Thank you, Tayyaba, for this clear and grounded perspective. I strongly agree with you. And if you let me, I wanted to share something that when we say youth also matter in education, we should not understand it as demographic statements. It's really a design principle, because education systems that treat youth as only target group remain limited, and education systems that treat youth as a co-architect becomes adaptive, future ready, and alive. So what we can say that youth are not important only because they are the future workforce. They are important because they are present time signal detectors. They sense shifts early in technology, culture, communication, and learning behavior. So when youth voices are integrated early into educational thinking, education step reacting late and starts evolving on time. So thank you again, Tayyaba, for this valuable contribution. We really, really appreciate your insight and your work, and we hope to see you again in the future Women Ascension events. So now let us move to our next topic. It's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Andrew Nuch Kenyor. I hope that I pronounced it correctly. Who will be speaking on the topic barriers faced by youth. So Andrew is a youth development pioneer and a young visionary driven by a strong commitment to social justice, academic freedom, and peace. He is the founder of and executive director of the Kenyor's Foundation, where he focuses on empowering young people across Liberia and shaping the next generation of leaders. Through his work as an activist, entrepreneur, and community builder, Andrew has become a powerful voice of youth development. He is an alumnus of the International Youth Fellowship and winner of the Project Change Liberia Business Plan competition. Congratulations for this prize, and recognized young leader whose advocacy continue to influence educational reform in his country. So we are truly fortunate to have someone with Andrew's passion and vision here with us today. day. Just a quick timer note, each contribution is designed for 10 minutes so we can stay aligned with our program structure. Andrew, the platform is yours, so allow me just to share my screen.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate you for that. And thank you so much. Can you people hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
All right, thank you. So let me say good evening, good morning, and hello to every one of you from wherever you are watching this from. I'd like to say thank you and welcome to my sections of today's powerful presentation in celebration of the International Day of Education, which is very, very much important. So with much that I do, before moving to my presentation, I like everybody to please fill the chat. And my name is Angel Nuch Kenyor. Like she said, I'm a youth development practitioner and a freelancer from Liberia, Africa, Liberia. It's a great thing. It's a great one. So I like those of you who are watching, if I like you to fill the chat with baby steps. Baby steps, just fill the chat with baby steps, and then before moving our conversation, baby steps, please fill the chat with baby steps. Steps. Please fill the chat with baby steps and just follow as I do, and then we start with the presentation. All right, great. Thank you guys. Thank you. Great. This is beautiful. This is massive. So I'm going to be more specific with what I'm talking about today, and I'm going to work in line with the time provided and in close relation with our team for today's the power of youth incorporating education, which is very, very much important. And I have today, great, thank you for sharing my screen. So I have, I'm going to be talking to you on how young people, the youth can fill in their 5 buckets of life. We have 5 significant buckets of life. If we are saying the young people should have a close collaboration, these are essential tools, and these are essential ways the young people can form a part and be a co-authority of the education that they deserve. It's not just for it to be created for them, but for them to co-authority and to have all hands on decks to creating the education we all want. So fill it in your buckets.
Andrew, your mic is closed. Yeah, your mic is closed. Please open it.
All right.
Okay.
Fill it in your 5 buckets of life. When I say 5, when you hear fill it in your 5 buckets of life as young people, it's about you knowing your human potential and what you can do as a young person. So that's the next last thing. When you hear about 5 buckets, what comes to your mind? The first thing is, who are you? We are all yearning for young people to cooperate education in our country. But there are 5 significant buckets that should be filled, not just by jumping the gun, but by taking a gradual process in solving these particular problems. And it's one of the reasons why I came about with the baby steps. So baby steps is not just a tagline, it is an inspiration that has drawn from a tagline, and it teaches you that life should be lived gradually, not to be rushed, not to crossing or jumping the gun. Because if you really look at the lifestyle of the baby, if you look at why the baby, if you look at why the baby, if you look at why the baby is dreaming of, is the baby wants liberty, the baby wants to walk, the baby wants to have freedom, and the baby wants to have everything good in life. So what is most important, the baby will first start to learn how to sit. And thereafter, the baby will start to learn how to crawl. From the crawling stage, the baby now starts to stand after standing, because on the overall, the goal of the baby is to learn how to and the next step is the overall goal of the baby is to learn how to crawl, how to move freely, have liberty, and reaches his or her goal or desired aspiration. And fast forward, the baby now starts to walk and starts to live his or her potential to the fullest. So I think that's how life should be lived, and that's why I was asking each of you to have that in the chat, the baby steps. And moving forward, I'd like everybody to live with the baby steps. Now to my presentation. Who are you? When you hear about the 5 buckets, what comes to your mind? The first question that comes to your mind is, who are you? Please give the next slide. The next slide, please. Great. The first question that comes to your mind is, who are you? And that question is beyond just a question. It is a revolution. It is what you have envisioned yourself to becoming. Who are you? What are your human potential? What are you capable of doing? What are you capable of doing? What are the small steps you can take to co-authoring or co-creating the education we all wanted to see in the world? And how can we have the young people or how can we have the young people part of this process that's going to be effective, inclusive, and more of the young people sitting at the end and at the edge and verge of everything being offered? That's the question. And once you answer that question of who are you, it takes you to the next question that says, what are your human potential? What are you capable of doing? What can you do? And how can you contribute to the education we all wanted to see? And that brings me to the story of the sweated document, revealing the power of Elon Musk. Some years back, Elon Musk used to be working on his regular exercise from work and all the places in the street. And then this sweaty jockey man, who is now Elon Musk, came across this fellow who was standing before his front porch. When Elon engaged the fellow, Elon asked, Elon asked, "Sir, can you provide me the opportunity? Can you provide me the opportunity to learning and growing? And I mean, just providing me with the space." And this man, in his own mundane voice, was more of criticizing Edom, saying, "What can a young sweated junkie man like you do with my platform, with the opportunity I'm going to give you? I mean, everything." So it was at that moment, Edom walked away. And fast forward, Edom harnessed his potential. Edom took to the next level his desire, his daring dream. That brings to the question that says, what are your human potentials? If we want to co-offer education in the world, we should know our potential as young people. What can you do? What do you love doing best? These are the necessary questions we need to ask ourselves. If we shall have answered this question, it takes us to the next question that says, what are your goals? What are your goals? And this is really, really important. This is one of the essential parts that many young people need to understand. You got to be more specific of what you want to do. You have understood your potential, you've understood and you have recognized your skill. Now you wanting to offer it, you want the world to know what are your goals. What problem, specific problem do you want to solve? You need to answer that question. And once that question is answered, it takes you to the next question that says, who do you see yourself becoming in a few years from now? You're not just identifying your strength as a young people, as a young person who wanting to cooperate our ecosystem of education. You should also know where you want to see yourself in a few years from now. After joining hands, after joining team, after joining the work, collaborating, solving these problems. Where do you want to see yourself? Where do you want to see your goal reaching? Where do you want to see your human potential in a few years from now? And the last question is, what are your action plans? And I think this is one of the problems many young people are facing today in our society. We have all of the beautiful ideas in our mind. We have all of the beautiful literatures. We have everything so beautiful, but then we do not have the action plans. I mean, our implementation skills are really poor and weak. And that's a red flag. I mean, absolutely, that is a red flag. We can't keep tracking on such path. Whatever idea you have in your mind or you have on mind, it must meet an actionable plans. A workable plans are going to bring to light whatever you are desiring to do. Please move to the next slide. Great. Okay, do this. What do you know? This is one of the questions many young people up to now see is so small, but they are yet to answer it. This question sounds simple but mind-blowing. Many young CEO professionals and students, and determined minds find it difficult to wrap their head around it. We usually start our professional life by acquiring knowledge that is going to high school, university, technical vocational school, workshop, and all of TVET program, and etc. Because you cannot cooperate education or you cannot promote their theme without knowing what is it. Firstly, you got to first recognize your knowledge. What do you know? What can you offer? What can you say while you're around the round table? What can you do? That's the question. Please, the next slide. What can you do? And this slide speaks squarely about your skills. And today in the world, there are a lot of young people who are only choosing the qualification over skills. Now, I like to say this plain. Young people should chase skills over qualification. I'm not saying qualification is bad. I'm not saying qualification is equally not important, but skills pays off better. Skills prepared you for a job, for the job market today. Everybody are working, everybody are envisioning themselves to enter into. What can you do if you are provided the space, if you are provided the opportunity to craft, to sit with all expert leaders, to co-offer education, to redefining education, to rethinking education, what it should be like? What are the skills you are taking to the table? What are your skills? That's a major question. Young people need to answer it. Do you have communication skills? Do you have communication skill? Do you have writing skill? Do you have do you have whatever skill that it takes to sit on the table to discuss this kind of matters? You should first identify a skill. As a young person, if you truly wanted to reimagine, if you truly wanted to rethink the way education should be retaught. The next slide, please. In this part of my presentation, I like to give more emphasis this. What do you know? I guess a lot of us have been asked this question. So in the chat, if you have been asked this question, if somebody has asked you, what do you know? Just say that in the chat. Just say that in the chat. If somebody has asked you, what do you know? Just step baby steps in the chat. This question is very, very much important. It deals with your network. Who are your network? There is a popular adage that says, people tend to know who you are by the people you associate yourself with. People get to know who you are by the people you associate yourself with. When you have knowledge, you have the skills, you become professionally valuable to others, and your network grows. You see how it works? You see how it works? It works step by step, just as the baby step, just as the baby uses the gradual means to achieving his or her goal. That's how filling in your 5 buckets of life to be valuable and to co-offer education works. So the first thing is you should identify your knowledge. Do you have the knowledge to co-offer education? And the next question is your skill. Once you fill in the first bucket, you have the knowledge. The next thing you start to fill in is your skill. And mind you, each of these things work simultaneously. Once you fill in the knowledge, you start to apply the knowledge. The application of the knowledge becomes your skill. And after you shall have applied the skills, you become professionally valuable to society. People start to go after you. You start to become a demand on the market. And once people start going after you, people start to look through your direction for the professional things you offer, right? Your network grows. And the question for who do you know is right there and at that point being answered because you are growing a professional network. That's how it works. The next slide, please. This is very, very essential. I mean, what do you have? What do you have? What do you have? What do you have? This is important. This speaks of the resources. If I'm saying resources, it does not necessarily mean your finances. Resources could be educational resources. Having knowledge, having skills, building network, consequently give you access to wealth, money, property, and even more. Come to think of this. You have answered all of these questions. You are aware of your knowledge. You started applying your knowledge returns into skill, and now your skills have built you a very, very professional network. And once you have a professional network, you start to gain. You start to gain. You start to build wealth. You start to build professional relationships. You start to build resources. You start to gain everything good from just your knowledge. So another thing, if we truly want to co-offer education, we should first fill in our 5 buckets of life. What you know, that is your knowledge. What you can do, that is your skills. What you have, your resources, and who do you know, your network. And lastly, to conclude on this, what the world or the people think of you. That speaks to your reputation. This is earned at the will of the 4 buckets. And this is the last part of the buckets. You can only earn these if you have filled the 4 buckets of your life. Remember, we have the 5 buckets: the skill, the knowledge, the network, and the resources. And this is the last, your repetition. Your repetition. And this can only be filled if you shall have filled the rest of the 4 buckets. This earn you at the will of the first 4 bucket knowledge, skill, network, and resources, which these 5 buckets and their interconnected relationship in the mind. It is clear that an investment in the first bucket knowledge is the highest yielding investment you can make. So young people, if we truly wanted to contribute and co-offer education, capturing our life and capturing our future, we should first fill in our 5 buckets. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for your powerful and heartfelt contribution. Your commitment to youth empowerment and educational reform brings thunderous to this conversation. Thank you very much, Andrew. And now we truly, really appreciate your contribution, and we hope also to see you again in a future Women Ascension events. So let's us move to our final topic. My pleasure to introduce Miss Eva Tsitsi Chigodo, pardon, who will be speaker of the topic Youth, Technology, and Modern Learning. Eva is the founder and director of program at the Launchpad Transition Program, where she uses her expertise in ICT academia and innovation to empower both individuals and institutions. She actively supports women in digital business and leads essential workshop on AI and digital literacy for educators through the Digital Educator Initiative. We are truly fortunate to have you with us today, Eva, and the platform is yours.
Miss Eva, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yes,
Okay.
Miss Eva. Miss Eva, if you do me a favor, if you finish your presentation in 10 minutes, because we have another session after this session, we will be more than happy.
Okay, I'll try. Okay.
Ravina
all right.
John, no
Thank you
worries.
so much,
No
Miss Eva.
worries. We will delay that session for 20 minutes. Okay?
Okay, all right. I'll try to be fast. Let me start sharing. Oops, sorry. Hello, can you see my screen?
Yeah, my dear, there's your screen, but not full one. Yeah, we only see the PowerPoint. Okay.
Okay.
You can send it on group, my dear.
Okay, let me say it on the group. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem at all. Take your time, my dear.
William. Put it on the group.
Okay, just 1 second. Okay, my dear Eva, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Apologies for that little glitch. So I want to talk about empowering the next generation. We're talking about youth, technology, and modern learning. What role does the youth play? Why is it important for us to empower the youth in education and in modern learning? Next slide, please. So obviously, I think we can all agree that the landscape of education is changing. Education as we knew it, even 2, 3, 5 years ago, is totally different from what it is today. Technology is transforming the way we learn. We used to learn heavily dependent on the teacher, and we were reliant on books. If I didn't have a textbook, I would be so worried that maybe I'm not going to pass my exams, or maybe I'm going to fail. I'm not going to make it in life. But the landscape of education is really changing. Even the teacher's role is changing. I think this was mentioned earlier that the teacher is no longer a knowledge hub, but instead they are just a facilitator of learning because they themselves are also learning as they go. And what we're seeing that youth are at the forefront of this change, right? And why are they at the forefront? Because they are the digital natives, right? Because the education landscape is being altered in a very big way by technology. And the people who are quickest to adopt the technology, who are not fearing the technology, are the youth. So modern learning systems must really prioritize also inclusion, accessibility, and practicality. In the past, I think teachers would just have a one size fits all. A lesson plan would just be, even if I've got 40 students in my class, I'm going to have one lesson plan and it's just going to have to work. So they probably work maybe with the most average student. Whoever is, too advanced, too fast, and they would be disadvantaged. Whoever is too slow would also be disadvantaged. But now with the way things are going, we are now prioritizing inclusion because now it's possible to actually accommodate people, learners of different types, visual learners, auditory learners, fast learners, slow learners, and so on. Next slide. So we're saying that the way people are learning, there's an evolution. It's a serious evolution. We're revolutionizing how we learn. And what does that mean? It means that already I talked about how we're now able to accommodate different types of learners. That talks about personalization, right? So as a teacher can have different types of learners and is able to address the needs of each and every single type of learner because technology makes it possible, right? We are also flexible now. You can have a class that has students that are physically present whilst others are actually remote, because it's not every student who's able to make it to class physically. So just because they're not able to make it to class physically, they're not losing out on the learning. We are also coming to a time where learning is becoming more practical, more immersive. I remember when I was in school and we're being taught about the heart, and we're being taught about the human anatomy. My imagination would go wild. I mean, I'm pretty sure we all had different ideas of what the heart looked like. We all had different ideas of what, different parts, the lungs or the digestive system looked like. But now we are being immersive. Even the history stories that we used to be told, would imagine different things. But now it's not possible for us to get closer to the real thing in terms of understanding because of virtual reality and augmented reality, right? And there's so many technologies that are out there that just really make the learning experience different and so much better. We talk about micro learning. I think this one is important because the youth of today, we were used to learning over a long period of time, right? But the youth of today are used to learning in small bits and pieces. They're used to short content, short and precise content. So that means that even as teachers, we even need to learn how to deliver content in a short and precise manner. Because if we don't do that, we're also going to lose our students, right? Because then they'll quickly they quickly lose interest. Right. So we move on. I'm trying to. I'm conscious of the time. All right. And another thing is that we are in an information overload age, right? Um, Long back would have specific textbooks, specific examination preparatory, books that the students had to master. But then now, if I'm teaching biology or if I'm teaching whatever, history or geography, I don't need to stick to a specific book because my students have access to more than just the book that I might prescribe for them. So I actually now become a facilitator of learning. The role of the teacher now is to just steer the students in the right direction so that they're consuming the correct information. There's now a new skill that we need to actually, groom in our students so that they know how to identify accurate and correct information from inaccurate information. We talk about collaboration. This is even easier now. Group work, teamwork. We can have teams working across. Look at us today, right now. This is a team of people who have come together today to send across one unified message about the youth having to be involved in education. And it's the same thing even in our classes. Collaboration is easy. We can even give our students homework to do. When they get home, they can collaborate, put them in teams. They actually connect with each other from their different homes and work on projects. That's the possibility that's coming now because of the changing landscape. And obviously, we're trying to be more inclusive to accommodate. I've talked about this already. And then there are new emerging skills. And this is very important because the more AI takes over, the easy stuff or the routine work rather, right? The more now we as teachers need to step in to be more human, right? That is the emotional intelligence, the critical thinking, the collaboration, the creativity, and so on. These are new skills that we now need to foster, not just within our students, because the students need them, and the teachers do need them as well. Next slide, please. So why do the youth's voices matter? They matter, as I mentioned already, because they understand the digital world. They are the true digital world experts. because they are born into it. It's natural for them, and they offer unique insights into digital environments. I have learned so many things from my own kids. They're the first to know, the newest app that has been launched. They're the first to try it out. And because of that, they're also the first to see what works and what doesn't work. So it's a good idea to rope them in, get their ideas, get their opinions, and incorporate them in our education, in our learning system. Right? When we listen to the youth, we build tools that are relevant and engaging, right? And also innovation, right? They are being born in an era where we need to promote innovation, because new things keep coming up, technology keeps evolving, and they are the ones who are able to keep up. So we need to foster the creative mind, allow them to grow. Gone are the days where the teacher was more of a gatekeeper, where they would give strict instructions, say, do this, don't do this, do this. But now we actually need, it's changing. Teachers actually need to allow the students to explore, to experiment, to make mistakes, to be messy, in fact. And in being messy,
Are you here? Please, your mic is mute. Unmute yourself, please.
oh, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, no problem.
So we need to empower our, how far back did I get muted? Sorry. Okay. All right. So we need to empower our students to be innovative, to be bold and brave, to think outside the box, to be cunning, and courageous. And the result of doing this is that in the end, our students, I mean, the future, is we can't even begin to imagine what it will hold for us. But then a success is guaranteed. This is what education should be like. Next slide, please. So when we're designing modern learning systems, now we need to co-create and build systems with the youth, not just for them, but with them. Because whilst they are excitable and they're quick to hop onto whatever app that comes their way, we can then offer guidance. They know what they want. And in us trying to develop something that works for them, we are consulting. We get regular feedback from the students. We ask them, does this work? What works for you? And then we connect lessons to real world jobs. And whatever approach that we use should always be student-centered, keeping technology simple and intuitive. Next slide, please. So we want to ensure inclusive learning. I think somebody talked about this earlier, because technology bridges critical gaps in education access. So no longer is distance from school as an excuse. No longer is the fact that maybe, I can't walk, an excuse not to be in class. No longer is my language fluency in maybe in English an excuse not to be in class, because now we've got text to speech, speech to text, all sorts of technologies that are available that are just making education and learning more inclusive. Digital accessibility features support diverse needs, and inclusive design promotes equity and fairness for all. So when we are thinking of we're preparing a lesson or whatever it is, or it might even be just tools that we want to use in our teaching, we need to be considerate and think of every type of learner that we have, and actually ask each type of learner what they wish they had to optimize their learning. And then we come back. That's the feedback loop we're talking about earlier. Next slide, please. So we have many real world examples where learning is really different. It's more fun. We have gamification. I think some of us know Kahoot, where learning is turned into a game. And we have badges, we have awards, we have scoreboards, and we have learning streaks, and things just keep the learning process interesting, and keep the students interested in learning. Virtual reality, I've spoken about this. Mobile learning, meaning that you can learn on the go wherever you are. You might even be in the car, you might be in a different location from your usual, but you're still able to continue with your learning. Next slide, please. So what's next? We need to prioritize youth voices in our decisions. As a teacher, if you are into educational technology, as you are designing the technology, remember to consult the students as well. Invest in accessible infrastructure so that we don't leave anyone behind, and the teachers actually really do need to be trained, because we can have all these fancy things and hang them on the wall and never use them because the teachers don't know how to use them. And that means we're not even optimizing the learning. So we need to invest in the teacher and train the teachers in tech. Encourage innovation in learning. There's a lot of resistance. Teachers are stuck in their old ways, and they'll tell you that I've been teaching for 20 years and I've been producing straight A students, but then is straight A students good enough? Are these straight A students innovative? Are they are they creators? What impact are they really going to have on the future? Because the future is dynamic. The future is different from what we have experienced in our education ourselves. Next slide, please. So conclusion, we have explored how technology reshapes education and why youth participation is non-negotiable. Modern learning thrives on inclusion, accessibility, and the vibrant voices of the next generation. The future of education is here, and it is powered by the youth. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Eva, for your
Next
insightful.
slide, you can just get my LinkedIn contacts.
Okay.
Otherwise, thank
Yep,
you.
please go on.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Eva, for your insightful and forward-looking contribution. Really, the technology does not empower youth by itself, but youth become empowered when they are given the agency to shape how technology is used. Because modern learning becomes meaningful only when young people move from being users of technology to become co-creators of digital solutions and reflect their world, their needs, and their ambition, like you said. So thank you again, Eva. We deeply appreciate your contribution, and we hope to see you in future Women Ascension events.
Thank you very
So with this final, thank you, my dear. And if you wanted to connect with Miss Eva, so there is the coordinator contact, yeah. So with this final contribution, we come to the end of a truly rich and forward-looking learning journey we share today, a journey shaped by insight, responsibility, and the power of youth partners in education. So I guess we will have just later time, so we will take just one or two question. So I don't know where we start, because there is too many questions. So don't worry, we can all drop it again in to the speakers. That they will after reply to all the questions. But let us see. Okay. I will take just like this questions, okay? So, Selma Ramdan, she said, if young people were gently in shaping education today, what would be the first change we would see in our schools or university and why? I guess this is for Eva. Yeah. Miss Eva, are you here?
Hello?
Yeah, hello. So I guess this question is for you. They said, if young people were gently in shaping education today, what would be the first change we would see in our schools or university and why? This is question for Selma Ramdan.
Okay. I really think that the first change we should see, um, I actually believe that it starts with the leaders of the school. Um, the leaders of the school need to be open to it. We need to be able to see deliberate conversations being fostered between school leaders and the learners themselves. That's what I'd expect to see. Active engagement and a deliberate effort to reach out to the students, to conduct surveys, perhaps, or maybe engage in focus group discussions to actually genuinely listen and begin to see some of those suggestions that are low hanging fruits actually being actioned. That's my opinion. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Eva. I guess there is another question. How do we, from Farangis, she said, how do we implement our ideas? How do we turn ideas into reality? I mean, sometimes we cannot really force the government to change the big stuff. So one of you, if can, Miss Andy or Tayyaba or Afreen, if you can, yeah, answer this question, please. I
Hi, I
guess
don't mind.
Andy, yeah,
Yes,
say
can you repeat the question, please?
She said, how do we implement our ideas? How do we turn ideas into reality? I mean, sometimes we can't really force the government to change the big stuff. I guess this question about the change makers, yeah, policy.
Well, quite frankly, politics and education are two very different things. And if we're, educators in the room, you probably understand what I'm saying. So perhaps the only changing factor in order to make through this reality is it is true that perhaps we're not going to change fundamentally the system in our country because that depends on the state and the government that it's ruling at the moment. That it's a very different discussion. The only thing that we have under our control is, of course, if you're not a public school, you know what I mean, is to some extent control the narrative in our educational systems. What I mean is that if the only thing that we can do as school leaders and policymakers within the school is to control that narrative, it's try to work within a doable, realistic plan. And I know that I'm trying and I'm asking us to be very stoic here, but being a stoic, it doesn't mean to face the storm, chest open and just receive whatever it comes. It's try to strategically apply what is it that we have in hand. For example, try in now that we're talking about AI and technology specifically, try to see who in your team are your AI champions, who in your students groups are your AI leaders as well. Who is it that are into technology? Try to invite the people from IT and try to create within your AI school environments realistic AI implementations. Because a lot of us try to focus a lot on teaching how to work on tools when we are not working a step before that one, which is understanding what AI governance and AI ethic means. We have to work the human aspect first, and what is it that we can do within our schools in order for those strategies and plans to work. So I hope that I answered that question.
Thank you very much, Andy. So the last question, I guess, from Nadolfo, she said, what strategies can be adopted by educational institutions to make sure that quality education is achieved, especially in the area of skills mismatch on the side of educators? Yeah, I guess it was the same.
Do you want me to answer this one too? Excuse me?
Yeah, yeah. If you want,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, sure.
Yeah,
No,
please
no,
go.
no problem.
All right.
Well, in terms for my fellow educators out there, I do believe that much of our own personal learning have been done out of our pocket, and unfortunately, we don't always have enough budget to keep on enriching that. So my advice is that for those policymakers and for those school leaders that believe that the AI reality can keep being postponed, please think about that one twice. Because I loved all presentations today, but one of the presentations that was my favorite was Miss Ava's presentation, because I believe that she was focusing specifically on the development of human aspect. And as AI ethicist, I have to say, or AI ethicist, junior AI ethicist, because that's what I am training myself for. I believe that understanding what human is and how is it that we learn and where is it that we are going as this new society in an era that doesn't resembles at anything that existed before is what it's important. So, in order to train our teacher staff, yes, understanding the technical aspect of tools is important, but understanding what makes us human is even more urgent.
Yeah, thank you, Andy, for your answer. I guess we will take the time, or we will take the last one. The last question is, what role do young women play in remaining education? So this is about the young women. Okay, yeah, if Tayyaba or Afreen wanted to answer this question, please. So I guess it was in Tayyaba session. She said, what role do young women play in remaining education?
Hi, can you please repeat the question?
Yeah, my dear. Okay, the question is about what role do young women play in remaining education?
In
So she wanna ask about
which education?
remaining education.
Okay, so you
Or
see that
imagining.
yeah. So, women are born nurturers, right? So, we take care of everything around us. And right now, women are playing a phenomenal role in all aspect. And one thing which I've noticed while growing up is that women have now started speaking up about equality, which means that, they want equal representation in every field. When I was young, I used to see a lot of leadership was associated with men, but now women have started taking charge. And if you look at Finland is the happiest country in the whole world, because women representatives are there and they're taking care of everything. And one thing which happens is that we take care of emotions of people a lot. So I feel like this is something which is very positive. And uh, as a woman, you should definitely voice your concerns regarding everything If I look at myself, I'm an educator. I have taught more than 1,000 students in GIK so far, and not just education, I also take care of the mental and the emotional aspects, and that really helps a lot, because I feel in 2026 the biggest flex is a calm nervous system, and with the help of that, if you're not in survival mode, we can climb mountains, we can uh, get every opportunity. The world is your oyster. So this is something which I feel like women are contributing to the education. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Tayyaba, for this answer. So I guess the time is time. So thank you to all our speakers for the deep clarity and conviction they brought to today's session. Thank you to our global audience for staying present through every layer of this discussion. After 5 powerful topics, we arrive at a place that is more than understanding. We arrive at the point of responsibility. We have heard about the barriers youth face, understanding why youth matters in education, the role of technology, the urgency of inclusion, and the pathway to co-creation. But this 5 sessions were not separate conversation. Together, they formed a single message. Education will not transform itself. It transforms when each of us decide to participate in shaping it. The journey of today leads us to one conclusion. Youth do not need more observers. They need partners. They need institutions that listen, community that act, and leaders who understand that the future is not built on policy alone. It is built on relationships, agency, and shared ownership. So the question now is not what did we learn, but rather what we will do with what we learned today. To our educators, your classrooms become stronger when youth become collaborators. To our institutions, your programs become relevant when youth are invited into the design process. To youth, your voice is not a request, it is a contribution, a necessary one. To everyone listening today, education belongs to all of us, and the future will remember not what we attended, but what we enabled. So, as we close this session, I invite you to carry forward one commitment. Do not leave youth outside the room where decisions are made. Bring them in and build with them, because if today show us anything, it is when youth co-create, societies move forward, and when societies move forward, we all rise with them. Thank you once again to all our speakers: Andy Lucchesi, Afreen Khan, Tayyaba Zulfiqar, Andrew Nuch, Kenyor, Eva Tsitsi Chigodo, and heartfelt thank to you, all the entire team working behind the scene for making this session possible. To my dear Dr. Mahin, Ms. Tahmina, and Kanvi, and all colleagues. And as we close, we extend our best wishes for a strong and imperfect start to our fellowship batch 1 2026. May the journey grow into real community change, meaningful leadership, and listening collaboration. We also invite you to stay connected with Women Ascension. Follow our pages to receive update on upcoming programs, initiative, and future events. Dr. Mahin, are you here? So I will give you the floor. So take care, stay safe, and we look forward to seeing in the future Women Ascension.
Thank you so much, everyone. The dear mentors and speakers of Women Ascension, we would be needing your advice and support to carry on the gaps that we talked today, to bringing all the educators at the community of Women Ascension to train them. You are the experts, and we will be looking for your suggestions and advice. With that, thank you so much, everybody, for joining in. Please note that we start with conversation, we observe the gap, and we try to bring in future activities where we involve you through learning, and we don't make you feel like too much, overwhelmed with the process, so that you actively engage with learning and with the people who are working on ground. So with that spirit, we would like to thank you one more time. And with that spirit, we would like to see you again in an upcoming session. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, dear Amal, Tahmina, admins, speakers, mentors. It means a lot to us, especially to me. Catch you real soon. Take care.